Charges are dropped against two people accused of criminally harassing the premier and his family after leading a protest at his house. That story and
the political climate in this province is ratcheting up. You'd almost think there's an election on the horizon.
Governments have a useful shelf life, and I believe that people are looking for change.
Trying to turn complex issues into slogans and Dr. Seuss rhymes doesn't work.
I'm Terry Roberts. I'll have that story coming up.
Raleigh celebration in Grand Falls, Windsor is in high gear this week.
When we are together and we'll celebrate, that's very special to us.
The lightness will always protect you from the darkness.
We'll tell you about an initial event at the College of North Atlantic. That's coming up on Here and Now.
Cool people dress up for Halloween. If you don't dress up, basically you're the one who's left out.
We need to go big or go home, basically.
And so they went big at one Avalon High School, where Halloween is much more than just a day to dress up.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Well, it's a busy time for politicians in Canada. There have already been elections in a few provinces, and Nova Scotians will head to the polls next month. And of course, there's lots of turmoil in Ottawa. In this province, politicians are tripping over each other as they vie for public support. Here Now's Terry Roberts has this look at the political climate.
Yeah, what's that aroma in the air? You guessed it, it's politics. Voters in Newfoundland and Labrador will get to elect a new government sometime soon. With a fixed election date and with 3+ years into a Liberal mandate, the political calendar is turning fast. Despite the fixed date election, that guy up on the 8th floor can drop the writ anytime. A fall election, though? Not likely, though the political machinery is already in high gear. Look like you're ready for something big.
I'm ready to rumble.
The opposition PCs are circling like sharks. Winners of 2 of the last 4 by-elections. Their aggressive social media campaign is getting under Fury's skin.
Making things personal, trying to turn complex issues into slogans and Dr. Seuss rhymes doesn't work.
We need better solutions that make a difference today.
Wakeham is confident the PCs can end the Liberals' 10-year grip on power.
There's change in the air. Governments have a useful shelf life, and I believe that people are looking for change. They're looking to make their lives better, and that's exactly what the PC government that I lead will do. We will make life better for people.
We've made bold, courageous, transformational decisions and actions that will change Newfoundland and Labrador for the better.
The Premier is also fired up, enthusiastic about his government's focus on healthcare reform. Improved access to childcare, a swelling population driven by immigration, unashamedly promoting oil and gas in this era of climate consciousness.
It's a product that I love. It's a product the world needs.
Talking tough when it comes to a potential hydro deal with Quebec.
This is our electricity, it's our water, it's our time, and if they're going to show up, they need to pony up.
With the Prime Minister about as popular as a toothache after Halloween, Fury broke ties with the federal party. The two sides are at odds over everything from equalization and fisheries management to immigration and the carbon tax. So expect Fury to keep downplaying any connection to Trudeau, like he did in this January by-election, and just like Susan Holt did this month in her spectacular victory in New Brunswick. And the pace is picking up. We're being flooded with news releases from the Liberals, the PCs, and the NDP. Andrew Fury makes announcement after announcement. The opposition keeps firing back.
The progressive conservative government that I lead will do things differently and better for people.
Here's the current breakdown of seats in the House of Assembly. Fury has been Premier since the summer of 2020, led the Liberals to a slim majority during a controversial pandemic election in 2021, and next week, back in this chamber, defending his government's agenda.
Very clearly, we got a long ways to go.
And no doubt, taking it on the chin from critics like this man.
We're definitely ready for an election.
So it's not if, it's when for an election call. Andrew Fury can ignore that fixed date election, and he can go early. And right now, all he's saying, wait and see. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
We got a surprise convoy at Andrew Fury's house.
Well, two people behind this so-called convoy at Premier Andrew Furey's house have had their charges dropped. Dana Metcalf and Shane Sweeney were facing charges for criminally harassing the Premier and his family back in July of 2023. They were protesting LGBTQ education. Now, Furey wasn't home at the time, but his young daughter was. Charges were ultimately dropped so she wouldn't have to testify. Metcalf and Sweeney have been ordered not to contact the Premier or his family for a year, and they have to stay away from his house. They formally apologized in court this morning. Well, the federal Minister of Immigration has confirmed Ottawa will be cutting the number of new permanent residents for this province as of next year. Ottawa announced last week it would be slashing immigration targets. The new plan cuts the main jobs-based immigration stream for this province in half. The provincial government says our economic prosperity relies on economic immigration. Mark Miller says the number of spots for this province will be negotiated in the coming months.
This is about being responsible. Canadians have been telling us time and time again that they want the federal government to have a managed, controlled system. The perception is that has not been the case recently. But the responsibility is one that is shared, including in provinces. As a generalization, provinces have told me they want more and more power, but the responsibility doesn't necessarily follow with it. And so we're asking them to work with us, and I have every indication that we can actually work something out with Newfoundland.
Well, a stray boy, or buoy, is getting on the nerves of some people in Southern Harbour. Resident Brandon Carnell says it won't stop making noise, and he feels like the Coast Guard isn't dealing with it fast enough.
You know, we get a bit of rain or get a lot of wind or something, you can feel it in your gut, like how loud it can get, and you can drown it out. Unless you want to deafen yourself and turn the TV all the way up, but you'll still hear it. It's drifted from one side to where it's to now. It's kind of drifted further back, but for the past few days, you've just been sitting where it's to now, right? About a month or two before this showed up. But I watched the Coast Guard boat come in and service the buoy that's over there. So, like, the boats are in the water, so I don't know why they can't come and get that one.
Well, we did ask the Coast Guard about the buoy. It says it's let mariners know the buoy isn't marking an intended hazard. The Coast Guard knows the noise is disruptive and says it'll send a ship to deal with it as soon as one is available. Well, the snow crab fishery may be over, but the drama isn't. The Association of Seafood Producers has filed an application with the Labour Relations Board against one of its own members. According to an FFAW release, Royal Greenland, which owns Quincy Fisheries, is refusing to provide sales data on 5 to 8 ounce sections of crab delivered to Boston. Providing that data was part of the deal to get harvesters fishing snow crab this year. After the season ends, if the price of crab goes up, part of the increase should go to the fish harvester. The FFAW says without the data, harvesters aren't getting their extra cash. CBC has asked Royal Greenland for comment, but hasn't heard back. Well, one of India's largest festivals, and it continues to make its way across this province. Here and Now's Troy Turner dropped by the College of the North Atlantic this week for the Diwali celebration.
It's the Christmas equivalent. Diwali's celebration of food, music, art, and dance brings a little bit of India to Newfoundland.
It's a festival of lights and festival of happiness because on this special occasions, we celebrate this with together our family members and friends, which is a good way to spend a good time with our near or dear ones.
College of the North Atlantic in Grand Falls, Windsor has more than 60 Sikh and Hindu students. This week, many filled the cafeteria with a little taste of home and some cultural lessons.
I'm very glad to meet with different people here and celebrate our festival with these people. And also, all the people here, they respect the different cultures, and they also respect our cultures and our festivals. So by meeting them, we also get different kind of information, and we also get to we also enhance our knowledge, and we also get opportunity to exchange our ideas with them.
The people who don't know about Diwali, they also get to know, and they get to be friends with other people and all that. The lightness will always protect you from the darkness. Like the good will always protect you from the evil.
And Daz's grade 4 classmates had an opportunity to learn about the festival and the customs associated with it. It makes her mom proud.
It's feeling great like when we are celebrating here, because it's very special thing. Like if we are not celebrating, we feel lonely at home and very sad. But when we are together and we'll celebrate, that's very special to us. And even when the town is helping you, then that's more special for us.
In Newfoundland, we just celebrate with songs, we dance, and we exchange gifts with our friends. And on 1st of November, our community, like Punjabi community, also celebrate this festival.
If you're interested in the food or music or dance, there will be a community Diwali celebration here at St. Joseph's Hall Friday night. That begins at 7 o'clock. Troy Turner, CBC News, Grand Falls, Windsor.
Well, the newly tweaked Team Gaju is off to a flying start. The team is currently in Lacombe, Alberta for the Pan-Continental Curling Championship and finished the round robin 7-0. Team Gaju added Brendan Botcher earlier this month, a move that's paying off. The St. John's rink beat China 7-4 this afternoon and will play Japan in the semifinals tonight at 11:30 Newfoundland time. And talk about team spirit. At Holy Spirit High School, Halloween isn't just a day for costumes and candy. Teachers and students have made national headlines for their elaborate costumes and sets. The CBC's Daryl Roberts dropped by to see what they have in store this year.
At Holy Spirit High, Halloween is extra spirited. Why is Halloween such a big deal at Holy Spirit?
Oh, it's absolutely for the students, absolutely. We started several years ago, and it was between departments, and we all would do our thing, and we would come in surprised at all the other departments. But this year we decided to take a little different approach, and we said, let's all do a movie theme and kind of keep it a little simpler for us, recognizing that students do have schoolwork and midterms are next week, or tomorrow. So we decided to go with a movie theme, and it kind of just came together from that.
If you don't dress up, basically you're the one who's left out pretty much.
Like, we need to go big or go home, basically. I feel like everyone's just happier on Halloween. Like there's a different energy here. Like everyone going up and down the halls are just like smiling ear to ear. Like everyone's laughing at all the costumes.
It's important to, show spirit towards what you kind of find interesting. So like people are dressed up like today, their favorite movies or their favorite drinks, or you know what I mean?
It's kind of nice to be recognized that the school has so much school spirit, and the teachers get involved and the students get involved, and like we have, for the most part, every year 100% teacher participation.
Cool people dress up for Halloween.
If I'm hitting the rims or the middle of the drum or the edge of the drum or even the side, we'll recognize different parts.
Yeah, this is not the usual kind of band. The Ballast Collective makes music not just with its instruments, but also with sensors that pick up body movement. We'll explain how in the world that works coming up.
lifelong passion for Inuit art and craft has inspired many. Watch Nellie Winter's Legacy, Sunday at 11:30 and Monday at 7.
Well, Ian Foster calls dancer Andrea Duff the lead singer of their instrumental band. Now, Duff, wearing sensors on her wrists and legs, can actually control the music in real time. Along with Nick Cultus-Clark, they make up the Ballast Collective, a musical group that combines traditional instruments with sensor technology.
The Ballast Collective is I guess, a coming together of a couple of different artistic minds, musical in the form of Nick Cultus-Clark and myself, and dance when it comes to Andrea Duff. I mean, essentially the technology is these little sensors, and they look like kind of like Apple Watches. They're wearable on the wrists or the legs, and they can receive MIDI information, and MIDI just being like a musical language. So think of it as if you were to reach over for like a volume button on a keyboard or a synthesizer, and you would just turn it from 0 up to 100%, and obviously it would get louder or quieter. Imagine that now assigned as a gesture to one of the sensors. So in other words, instead of taking a button on a synth and turning it up, Andrea could turn her wrist and it would be the same effect.
I'm using some technology which encompasses basically a system or a program that's on my laptop, and they are basically physical triggers that are on each of my drums. So every time you hit the drum, it recognizes a part of the drum in which you've hit. So if I'm hitting the rims or the middle of the drum or the edge of the drum or even the side, it will recognize different parts, and I can map to the software those different hits that I'm using and hitting on the drum. So I can map whether it's a melody progression. So each time I hit it, it might go bum, 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 or a full chord progression. To look at the stage and see us performing, I mean, it would look like I'm playing drums and Andrea is movement and dancing, and Ian is playing keyboard. Obviously, there's a lot more going on under the hood with that, but in terms of how it looks very traditional.
Even in relationships with musicians where there is a lot of true collaboration and there is more of a conversation back and forth, having the ability to affect the musical composition in real time is something that I've never gotten to experience before, and actually be a composer.
Every time I sit down now, it's not just, I'm just going to practice this drum part. It's how can I actually create a song or a movement or a piece and things like that. And it's just expanded how I get into the practice room.
One of the ways that I think the technology really works in regards to encouraging connection versus some separation is that one of the things we started bringing into the show is asking audience members, and we've done it with kids and it's so sweet, that they can record an audio sound and then we'll immediately put it in a sensor, and they can either play their own sensor and jam with us, or if they don't want to do that, then I'll use their sound, and so they immediately become part of the composition as well.
Andrea is definitely the lead singer of our instrumental band, but at the same time, everything that she is able to control musically is kind of collaborated on in advance and then sent to her sensors from like my console or Nick's console. So there really is that, I guess, mutual reliance on each other when we're on stage, that like we're able to, you know, choose the sounds that we can send to give Andrea at any given time, but then how she uses those is totally up to her. It feels like one of the most kind of free-flowing artistic projects I've ever been a part of because of that very reason. It just feels very reciprocal between, you know, all three of the band members.
Heather the Stegosaurus here. Happy Halloween. Look at these temperatures right across the province. They're so warm you don't even need a snowsuit underneath your costume this year. We've got 6 in St. John's, into the double digits for some parts on the west coast, even a beautiful night across much of Labrador. The only freezing spot or below is in Lab City. We're going to talk about the weather and what's ahead. That's next.
productcare.org.
Heather, I have to say, you make an adorable stegosaurus.
Oh, thank you very much.
I do have a question for you, though. As a stegosaurus, are you allowed to eat Halloween candy, or are you just strictly vegetables and plants?
I think maybe in the Jurassic era, we probably only had plants, but I like candy. I really like candy. So this stegosaurus definitely eats candy. And when it comes to our Halloween forecast, Carolyn, it's unfortunately not the greatest. It's a bit of a wet one. So let's get right to that. And we'll talk about the weather that is on the way. We do have a wet and spooky forecast because we have some fog patches tonight to set the mood. Our temperature is fairly mild, rising in the overnight, and the rain, drizzle, and fog that we're seeing tonight is going to stick around into Friday. Now, our Halloween forecast for this hour for 6 p.m., it's not a great one when it comes to the rain, the drizzle, and the fog, but the temperatures, they're not so bad. We have 6 degrees in St. John's and Marystown, some drizzle being reported and some light rain in the province as well. 9-10 degrees for Central, and the West Coast as warm as 12 for Port aux Basques. So these temperatures mean really that you don't have to have your snowsuit on underneath your costume, but like maybe a poncho or a clear bag so you can show off your outfit when you're going out trick-or-treating if you haven't been out already. Now for Labrador, temperature's still great there as well. 5, 6, 7 for Happy Valley, Goose Bay, Cartwright, and the Straits, 0 for Nain. And we could see a flurry, a spooky flurry in Lab West at -3. Taking a look at our satellite and radar now, because this is what we really want to have a look at because it's the precipitation that's kind of messing with Halloween tonight. Let's take a closer look. We can see right here across parts of the West Coast we have some, and moving on into Central and the North Coast and clipping the top of the Avalon there as well. So that's where the rain is wreaking havoc. New temperature record set yesterday. Port aux Basques -3.2. breaking a record set in 1974, and in Stephenville, a new record low for yesterday, -4.8 degrees. Taking a look at our future tracker now and where some of that precipitation we should see tonight is going to end up. We're basically just going to see this band push right across much of the island as we go on into the overnight. For Labrador, your weather fairly quiet tonight, really only clouds to talk about. Chance of flurries possible, however, through Lab West, like we talked about just a little bit earlier. Taking a look at our lows tonight, we can see that they're still fairly warm into the double digits for the South Coast. 9 degrees in St. John's, 8 in Central Newfoundland, and 1 for St. Anthony. Could pick up 2 to 4 millimeters for the West Coast. Our lows tonight dropping down as cool as -7 for Lab West and -1 for Cartwright, -5 for Happy Valley, Goose Bay. Taking a look at tomorrow now, it's going to be a bit rainy, drizzly in the morning for us, but look at these temperatures, 15 for St. John's. That is much warmer than our normal daytime high, which is around 8-9 degrees, 12 for the southern Avalon. And we've got a sun and a cloud and a rain icon here. We could see a few peaks of sun tomorrow afternoon. Some more clouds for the Bonavista and Burin Peninsulas. We could see 2 to 4 millimeters for the Bonavista Peninsula. In central Newfoundland tomorrow, we could pick up some more rain, about 5 to 10 millimeters. Temperatures more seasonal here for Grand Falls and Gander, but warm still in Terra Nova and for Harbour Breton at 11. For the West Coast now, into the double digits for the Humber Valley, Burgeo, and Port aux Basques, but backing off a little bit for Stephenville and Corner Brook, where we could see as much as 10 millimeters and 5 to 10 up through this area of the province. On up to the Northern Peninsula and the Straits, temperatures backing away. 3, 4, 5 degrees, picking up some sun in Mary's Harbour and some sun and cloud through Cartwright. And as we move on up into the rest of the Big Land, not a bad day here at all. We could see some flurries in Lab West at -1, but for the rest of Labrador, looking like a beautiful, clear day for you folks. That's it for our forecast right now. Stick around because later on here now, we're going to have your long-range forecast and talk about what's ahead.
Thank you so much, Heather. Well, Halloween, of course, is such a fun time for youngsters right across the province. But in Happy Valley Goose Bay, it's also a day furry residents get to enjoy. Reagan Burden explains.
When you think about Halloween and trick-or-treating, you probably think about kids in costumes. But today in Happy Valley Goose Bay, dogs and cats are dressing up and hitting up local businesses and organizations to get some treats.
So this is an event I started 8 years ago so that people like me who have fur babies instead of children can still enjoy Halloween. So we started with the local pet store, Paws Pet Boutique, the dog park, and the SPCA, and over the years it has grown, and I think this year we have about 15 different businesses enjoying giving out treats to dogs and cats that come trick-or-treating.
So this is Winnie, and due to her name, we got Winnie the Pooh and Tigger.
I love the Tigger
And we have a
costume.
little honey pot to go with it, so that's what all their treats are in today.
The first year we had 30 to 40 animals, and in the last few years it's been closer to 100. It's been a lot of fun. We had people commenting how they missed it since they've moved from the community, so it's a lot of fun to have them come in. I try and take some time off during the day at work so I can actually come out and enjoy it myself.
So we have Reese and Henry. Reese is the little bat and Henry is the little spider. We absolutely love it. It's our favorite thing. I don't have any kids yet, but I absolutely love Halloween. It's one of my favorite times of the year. So my dogs are like my kids, so being able to bring them out and get them to experience something like this is our favorite. We do it every single year, and I look forward to it every year, and so do the dogs. They get so excited, and they get so many treats. I don't even buy them treats for Halloween anymore because they get so many. And it's just such a fun tradition to look forward to every year. And I love to see all of the businesses that go and all the new ones that come up every year. And it's so good for the community to do for the dogs.
It's fantastic. It's the first time I heard of it, and it was wonderful to be able to do this with our new puppies.
We see a bit of everything. Sometimes it is the family will come, everybody's dressed up, not just the dog or the cat. Got one lady coming as a chef, and she's bringing the dog dressed as a lobster in a pot. It's very elaborate. I'm looking forward to seeing that costume.
Yeah?
It will continue every year. It always is on Halloween, usually 1 till 3. Sometimes on the weekend we'll go a little bit longer because we'll have more businesses that participate on the weekends. But we try and keep it down to 2 hours, not to disrupt businesses too much. And we have some pretty dedicated people who manage to hit every location in 2 hours.
So much going on.
Sit. Good job. Winnie.
Happy Halloween!
Oh my goodness. So adorable. And you have animals. Do you dress them up for Halloween?
Not my dog. He's kind of big, so it's hard to find a costume. But the cat, she's black, so
Perfect.
It's spooky season. No costume required for her.
Yeah, already dressed up. I have 2 little honeybee costumes for my 2 little dogs, so that's always fun.
How cute. Love it.
Conventional wisdom is that there won't be that much difference if Harris gets elected. With Trump, there's been a number of speculations.
Yes, a number. The U.S. election is only 5 days away, and it's a tight race. We'll hear from a political scientist on what either outcome could mean for Canada and this province. With just 5 days left before Election Day in the U.S., Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are passing each other on the campaign trail again today, both making stops in the battleground states of Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico. But even before heading out to her official events, Harris held an unscheduled appearance in front of cameras, specifically to respond to this comment made last night by her Republican rival.
I want to protect the women of our country. I want to protect the women. Sir, please don't say that. Why? They said we think it's very inappropriate for you to say. So why? I'm president. I want to protect the women of our country. Well, I'm going to do it whether the women like it or not. I'm going to protect them.
Listen, it actually is, I think, very offensive to women in terms of not understanding their agency, their authority, their right, and their ability to make decisions about their own lives, including their own bodies.
Well, meanwhile, Trump supporter Elon Musk failed to show up in court in Pennsylvania as ordered. It was the first hearing in a bid to shut down Musk's $1 million a day giveaway in the vital swing state. His absence would have risked contempt of court had his case not been moved today to federal court. Well, as our southern neighbors barrel toward Election Day on Tuesday, election anxiety is spreading beyond the U.S. border. Maybe you're feeling it right now. You may be wondering about how the outcome of the U.S. election could affect us here in Canada or even in Newfoundland and Labrador. So let's talk about it. MUN political science professor Lucian Ashworth joins us now in studio for some analysis. Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here, yeah.
You know, you are an expert on politics, but on a personal level, how are you feeling about this U.S. election right now?
Well, like many people, I think, in my profession, I'm a bit of a political junkie, so I do love elections, whichever way they go. But there's something about the American system that they always seem to throw us really good cliffhangers. And so like a lot of people, I think, I don't know who's going to win this one.
It is so tight. Yeah. So it is certainly a cliffhanger.
Absolutely. So it's wearing on your nerves.
You know, in terms of issues, trade with the United States is something that is so important for Canada, for our economy, and depending on who wins, what's at stake, do you think, for Canada in terms of trade and our economy?
Yeah. Well, the conventional wisdom is that there won't be that much difference if Harris gets elected. With Trump, there's been a number of speculations. One option is that he goes for the threatened 10% tariff against everyone except for China, which gets 60%. And there's a possibility that despite the United States, Mexico, Canada free trade agreement, that the US could go for a 10% tariff from Canada and Mexico, and that therefore Canada and Mexico then would have to go through the dispute settlement mechanism to get that reversed. And of course that takes time, and obviously that means that, that there would be significant tariffs on Canadian goods.
If we did see those tariffs in Canada, how would that affect us?
With the tariff itself, and here Trump has been getting it wrong at his rallies, it's not paid by the country that's exporting. It's paid by the people who buy the goods in the United States. So what we'd see here, of course, is inflation in the United States. But it would, of course, make Canadian goods that much more expensive. And it would also increase tensions with Canada. So you could see sort of frictions over trade issues, going to trade dispute mechanisms. So it would add an irritant into the relationship between the two countries and would probably have a negative economic effect on both the United States and on Canada.
What about from an immigration standpoint? Do you think we could see any changes in Canada depending on who wins in terms of immigration?
Again, it's a big issue in the United States. There will be effects of some form or another. Whoever gets elected, immigration is now a kind of a key hot button issue in the United States. If the Trump administration does go ahead, even with a watered down version of what Trump is saying he's going to do in terms of mass deportations.
Yeah, because he's saying right now that should he win, millions and millions, I think upwards of 10, 11 million undocumented immigrants would be booted out of the country.
And so there will be obviously a knock-on effect at the Canadian border. But the problem with a lot of the Trump plans is there aren't really a hell of a lot of details. This is all sort of thrown out into the public in order to garner votes.
Of course, there's so much unrest in the world right now. Both of these candidates have very different views on foreign policy and in particular NATO. Depending on who wins, what kind of pressure do you think could be put on Canada in terms of defense spending?
Yeah, well, this is a big question. It's one also that European allies are worried about. If the Trump administration, Mark II, if it wins, starts going after the NATO allies, then Canada's very top of that list. And of course, Canada relies quite heavily on that Western alliance. And what's more, Canada shares a very long oceanic boundary with Russia. So there are major concerns here about where Canada will fit in kind of Western defense and the defense relationship with the United States should Trump get in.
I'm also wondering what you think the effect has been on Canadian politics in terms of tone. This week, for example, we heard Premier Andrew Furey criticized his opponents for sowing discord online, for posting childish rhetoric and misinformation, saying that they're using tactics that are straight out of the Trump playbook. How do you think the tone of our next federal and even our provincial election could be affected by the U.S. campaign? If the Trump tactics work, could we see more of that? If Harris's tactics put her in the White House, will we see more of that kind of tone? How do you think it could play out?
What happens in the United States does give boosts or suppresses certain tendencies within Canada. Obviously, like Western Europe, we have our own politics. But certainly if Trump wins, it's going to be very difficult not to have a situation where major political parties are going to kind of adopt some of the Trump playbook. Maybe we'll see less emphasis, for example, on issues around climate change. Maybe we'll see a bit more of an aggressive political landscape, more of a fact-free one perhaps as well. But I don't think we should overplay that too much. I mean, still, we have a different political system here, as they also have a different political system in Europe. So it's going to be a sort of an interplay of these factors. Yes, it'll influence, but it's not going to completely take over.
How are you going to spend Tuesday evening? How are you going to watch the election?
Yeah. Well, I've been invited to an event to be on a panel, so I'm going to be doing the punditry. The only problem's going to be is, of course, is that it's not the case that we're going to have to stay up late at night to see the result, but we could have, because the polls are so close, we could have a replay of 2020 where it's a couple of days before we know the full result.
I think, best not hold our breath on election night. Just try to breathe, as it all plays out.
All bets are off. If someone tells you who is definitely going to win, they're not following this election.
Lucian Ashworth, thank you so much for coming in. Really appreciate your thoughts on this.
Yeah, thank you.
Dozens of federal fisheries officers across Atlantic Canada are back on the job after new protections were put in place for them. They'd been refusing to work for the past 2.5 months because of violence related to the lobster fishery. But fishers say illegal fishing is still rampant. The CBC's Kayla Hounsell reports.
This is a busy wharf. And these are the most lucrative lobster fishing grounds in Canada at a time when the commercial fishing season is closed.
I'm a treaty defender, and I don't believe that I need to use any of the federal government's tags to fish. I have an inherent right.
Jolene Marr is a member of the Sebeganegedy First Nation. Even when the season is closed, she does have a right to fish for food, social, and ceremonial reasons. But the government says it's illegal to sell, trade, or barter that catch.
I might go trade Buddy down the road for scallops, trade another guy for some wood for the winter. Then do I sell it? Yes, I do.
Going anywhere, in 2020, there were violent clashes between Indigenous fishers and non-Indigenous commercial fishers. A lobster pound burned to the ground.
There's been no enforcement. What's going on here now in the summer is a full-scale commercial lobster fishery out of season.
Indigenous fishers aren't the only ones fishing outside the season, and fisheries officers did seize more than 100,000 pounds of lobster from this facility earlier this month. They say it's gotten dangerous.
We have had instances of officers being shot at. They have also received intel of gang activity.
Don't fall! This video shows fisheries officers clashing with fishers on the water. 35 officers refused to patrol for 2.5 months, citing safety concerns. They're back now, but only after a labor investigator, in a decision obtained by CBC News, agreed, saying the activity could reasonably be expected to present a serious threat to their life or health. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans says it has taken measures to correct this. The Fisheries Minister did not respond to a request for an interview.
She's never been in southwestern Nova Scotia.
Have you asked her for a meeting?
Yes.
This captain says there's room in the fishery for everyone, but says it has to happen within the commercial season to protect the stock.
We'll see when the season opens and the non-natives join us, because I'm not going anywheres.
The opening of the season is about a month away. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Soniaville, Nova Scotia.
Hey. You're all right, Ken. You're all right, buddy. You're listening to On The Go here on CBC Radio 1 if you missed that. I'm dressed up as Macho Man today, and not to flex too hard, but I did win your costume contest here. It's homemade. Sparkles. There's a lot of fringe, that's all I'm going to say.
Oh gosh, Chrissy is cracking me up today. A little Halloween fun on the Go. Today, Chrissy is Macho Man, and you heard her right. She did win our costume contest today. It's all about the attitude too, you know? And how could she not? Heather, the Stegosaurus will be back with your weather next.
For details.
Well, some regions in Spain are dealing with the effects of a severe weather event. Rescue crews are searching for survivors of flash flooding in the southeastern part of the country. At least 95 people have died, and many more are trapped in the rubble or missing. Hundreds of soldiers have been sent to the province of Valencia, which was hit the hardest. Some areas are blocked by mud, debris, and mounds of cars. Tens of thousands of people are still without power and drinking water. The Spanish government is urging people to stay at home. All right, terrible story there, Heather. We're going to have a look at our weather now and the long-range forecast. How are things looking later in the week? I guess looking ahead to the weekend now.
Looking ahead to the weekend, yeah. We have a little bit of precipitation in our forecast, nothing as serious as what they have seen in Spain. So let's take a look. So as we move into Friday, we'll see a similar trend to what's happening right now with some clouds across Labrador and some precipitation. We'll see some more precipitation push across the island with some clearing through Labrador right here in Saturday in the overnight, and then things starting to clear out behind it for the island a little bit, but we've got some, it looks like some white stuff starting to move in for the Lab West area. Let's take a closer look now at what that's going to look like. So for St. John's and the Avalon, it looks like we could have a chance of showers at 6 degrees, showers actually on Saturday, windy 6 degrees. For the Burin Peninsula as well, we're going to have showers and wind there. Elsewhere, it looks like it'll be a chance of showers, but through Corner Brook, Grand Falls, Windsor, Gander there, it looks like we'll have a bit of a mix. Could be flurries, could be a chance of showers. Temperatures anywhere from 1 to 6 degrees on the island through Labrador, chance of flurries. A little bit cooler there with temperatures 2-3 degrees for the most part, cooler again though in Lab City. As we move on to Saturday evening, we'll see some of these flurries start to push across Labrador, some clearing for the island here, but a little bit of precipitation for the west coast and northern peninsula starting to come back in here as well and spread across the island. As we look at Sunday, our forecast is a little bit similar in some areas, 5 degrees for St. John's and Marystown. We could see a mix of either a flurry or a rain shower through Gander and some flurries for Grand Falls. So for like the western part of Central and the west coast, you could see a flurry there. Temperatures similar to Saturday. Looking like a nicer day across Labrador though, with some sun for coastal Labrador at 1 degrees, picking up a little bit more cloud for the Straits and a bit more cloud and possible flurries through central and western Labrador at 2 to -2 degrees. Taking a look at our 5-day now, it looks like our best day ahead is Tuesday. Temperatures starting to drop back throughout the week there. And then through central, looking similar. Monday, Tuesday, looking like your nice, clear, cool days. For western, it looks like, again, Monday, Tuesday, your lovely days there. Up through Labrador now. For eastern Labrador, you could see some flurries for the weekend, but Friday, Monday, Tuesday looking good. And then for Lab West, Monday is your precipitation snowflake-free day there with your temperatures getting cool into Monday into the minus digits. Now I'll leave you with this spooky photo of the day. So much mood.
It is very moody, very ominous.
It looks like a monster could jump out in there somewhere hiding in the fog. This is Boo at Bartlett's Point Park, and it is from Connie Boland. Thank you for that photo. And if you have any photos, you can send them to us here on the bottom of your screen at nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Such a contrast to all the photos we've been getting lately with all the beautiful fall colors and the black and white, but it's very Halloween. Thank you very much for that.
Indeed.
And so we get to go home now, and maybe we'll get some trick-or-treaters at the door. Do you get very many trick-or-treaters?
I just asked my husband, and he said we had like 5, so we don't get very many.
Yeah, me neither, unfortunately. I bet there's so many kiddies home tonight sorting out their candies into different piles.
Checking them as well.
Yes. My goodness. goodness, yeah, for sure. Hopefully. Well, that is it for us. Happy Halloween, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Happy Halloween. Good night.